The focus is now on Georgia, folks. If you look at, actually, let me pull it up here. The New York Times map here. It is extremely tight in the United States Senate. Right now, it is showing 49 Republicans, 48 Democrats. And so you see their map here. You see Nevada, you see Arizona, and you see Georgia, that's gray. Well, the reality is this here. In Arizona, that is likely going to go to the Democrats. This is the results right here. Right now, Mark Kelly is leading by 5 points in Arizona. And so that is going to be a pickup for the Democrats, which means it's going to be 49-49. Now, votes are happening as we speak in Nevada. And the incumbent senator there is closing fast, and more than likely, she is going to be reelected there as well. And so let me see if I can pull these up. So these are the results right now. As you see, there's a huge tranche of votes that are being counted as we speak. 90% of the vote is in. Adam Laxalt has a 9,000 vote lead. Catherine Cortez Masto is down by 9,000. But again, based upon where this huge block of votes are coming from, it's Clark County. That's Las Vegas. And so that is a major Democratic stronghold. And so based upon the various analysis from folks there, they believe that she is going to overtake Laxalt and will be elected. Now, what's happening, the governor in Nevada is likely going to lose, but Aaron Ford, the black attorney general, was declared the winner a little bit earlier. And so they expect Cortez Masto to also win, which means that's going to be 50-49, which means that the Georgia race will be the difference maker to whether or not it is a 50-50 U.S. Senate. Democrats will still maintain control, or if it's 51-49. That's huge. That's why the Mandela Barnes race was so huge, because had he won, that potentially could have been 52-48. And so that's what we're talking about. Joining us right now is Helen Butler, Executive Director of the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, joining us from Alpharetta, Georgia. Kendra Cotton is the CEO for the New Georgia Project Fund. Glad to have both of you here. Y'all are doing the work there. Georgia Stand Up is doing the work. Black Voters Matter is doing the work. Folks there on the ground as well. And Kendra, I want to start with you. Because, and again, this is just me. I sent a text message to a variety of people, donors, also prominent Democrats, to Senator Warnock and others, the day after, saying, hey, time is of the essence. Bottom line is, these other folk, they are preparing. We talked about yesterday how Mitch McConnell, he has already cut a deal to pay for Brian Kemp's Get Out the Vote operation, that 100 field workers, as well as the senior aides as well. The evangelicals, I got a text message earlier today. It says right here, give me 1 second. It says, let me find it. Where's the text message? I was hitting a bunch of people today, said, let's see here. Where is it? It says the evangelicals and Christian stations are getting booked fast. They're locking up all the ads there. And so the Republicans, they are sitting here circling the wagons. And so black voters are going to be critical as well. Your groups are nonpartisan. But what are you seeing when it comes to both of these campaigns when it comes to this runoff? And are you seeing folks laying the groundwork to really go after black voters to get them energized to vote the second time in the runoff?
So I can tell you unequivocally, the answer is yes. We fully expect Senate Majority PAC to come in through America Votes, which is the C4 table, to make significant investments into this race. As you articulated when you kicked this off, we are looking at being the 51st Senate seat, and I don't think anyone is taking that lightly. You always want to have as much cushion as possible when you're talking about, possibly retaining control. We are looking, we had a strategy session, New Georgia Project Action Fund yesterday. We are looking already at laying the groundwork for an apparatus that's going to put people on the doors on Monday morning. We did 388 shifts on November the 8th, which was a general election. We will have the capacity on Monday morning to send out 388 shifts again. We're looking at right now at an operation. We huddled with AV. We were thinking that we would probably need to knock about 500,000 doors. That's looking more like we need to knock about 1 million doors. That's going to take about $3.7 million, and we fully expect that funding and those resources to come in.
Helen?
Well, Roland, thank you. And just like Kendra said, we too are really working to do the turnout. We did a strategy session as well, and we're getting our people on the ground. We've already started phone banking, text banks. We're going to be hitting doors. We're going to be doing our election protection activities again, because one of the things we found on November 8th that we had to make sure our people were able to exercise their right to vote. And we know that there'll be lots of challenges, but we're educating people today about how to handle those challenges. I was on a radio station in Atlanta, making sure that people know what to do, what the deadlines are, and to remember that they've got to come back out. We only have 1 week of early voting, so it's critical that we turn out every vote that we can. We're providing rides to the polls to make sure people get to the polls. So we are doing everything we can to ensure that people turn out as they did in 2020 and 2021.
And we're talking about, again, the turnout efforts. One thing I talked to folks during the general, and they said there was so much concentration on obviously Atlanta and the Atlanta metro area. But the reality is, in order for, to really reach black folks, look, you got to go beyond Atlanta. And so you've got Albany, Columbus, Swainsboro, Statesboro, Savannah, Augusta, Athens, a number of different areas. And so for both of you, is your strategy also those places? I know Black Voters Matter. I worked with them in 2020 when they were also in many of those places, really going out in those places and driving those numbers up as well. So therefore, folks are not depending upon Atlanta for a massive turnout.
Let me just start out. We go, Roland, where our people are. Okay. New Georgia Project Action Fund during this last general election cycle was in 25 counties. Georgia has 159 counties, but we focus our resources where Black and brown people specifically live and work. We are laser focused on those communities. We're actually focused on what we like to describe as high opportunity voters. I know a lot of people describe them as low propensity voters, but they are not. High opportunity voters are voters who might be infrequent voters. They're the ones that you have to do some civic education with regard to, policy outcomes and what we call the heart issues that are going to make them turn into super voters, because it is never, ever, ever about connecting someone to a particular candidate. There are no saviors out here. We are looking for folks who want to move the needle towards a more progressive Georgia. And these are folks that aren't going to show up on the walk list for any particular candidate. These are the voters who are out there who are often left behind. They're the infrequent voters, because what we know in our organizations and the grassroots ecosystem across Georgia, that those are the people that you have to convince to come out. Those are the people that are going to turn the tide, because this is a game of margins. Most candidates, political parties, traditional organizations out here in Georgia, they don't take the time to invest in our communities in particular, especially where Black and brown folks are concerned, where young people are concerned. And they certainly don't do it in between election cycles like we do. All of us are on the ground 365, 24/7. We ain't new to this. We true to it.
And we have 7 offices across the state that covers 53 counties that we work on, like Kendra said, 365 days a year. So we're working in those counties. For the election protection activities, we covered 96 of the 159 counties in Georgia. So we're there making sure we concentrate on people of color that will turn out to vote and will exercise their right to vote. We're getting them there. Again, we're providing free rides to the polls. We're educating them. We did a Your Vote, Your Voice tour to educate them about the changes. We'll be educating them again and making sure that when we show up, we'll have that ride to the poll. You just go with us, and we will make sure your vote gets counted.
One of the things that when we talk about where we are today, Kendra, I'll start with you, and that is a lot of the focus is on door knocking, is going block by block, and I believe that is valuable. But different voters operate in different ways. You have voters out there, especially young voters. It has to be a strong social game as well. Also, when I start thinking about different ways, I was watching a movie, and it was very interesting how I've watched different movies and I've seen ads run targeting different audiences based upon the movie that's actually playing. Then you also begin to talk about, obviously, even old school billboards, and people talk about signs and things along those lines. And so I'm curious to know, from your vantage point, what type of innovative things beyond door knocking, going door to door, that y'all have been doing at the New Georgia Voter Project to really reach, especially young voters who perform amazing across the country on election day. But now you got to replicate that. And so I'm very curious to know, what are you doing that's outside of the traditional door knocking?
Yeah, so let me just, okay, I'm not young, right? I'm 45. I've got 3 kids, 21, 18, and 15. And so I know a little bit about how they are getting their news and getting their information. And so at NGPAF, New Georgia Project Action Fund, what we try to do is we hit these folks because our sweet spot is really the 18 to 35 crowd. You know, again, those high opportunity voters, trying to get them engaged. And so I don't know if you subscribe or follow our social media on Instagram, on TikTok, you know, Facebook for the older set. But we are trying to innovate out here. In 2020, we partnered with some other groups to do, get your booties to the polls, where we took a lot of flack for that. The aunties didn't like it, but it wasn't for them. Where we had, strippers really giving a message out there, hey, it's important for everyone to vote. We leave no stone unturned. We try to take, things that are out there just kind of in the ethos that, if it's a funny clip, if it's a trend on TikTok, we always try to kind of manipulate it, reorient it. So we're reaching communities that are interested in that through, where they are, making it funny. We live in a society right now where it's all about instant gratification. Too long, didn't read is a sickness around here, but we understand it. And so we accommodate. We know how to communicate with folks on Twitter in 140 characters. Despite, Elon trying to tear it down and burn it down to the ground, we're still there. But what I am saying is, yes, all of those things work. We put money behind digital ads. What I know is there's a lot of people out there like me. I have Hulu. I have other, different applications where I get my, television watching or whatever, but I pay for the ad-free stuff. So this idea that we can run a 1994 kind of campaign and throw millions and millions of dollars just up on ads and expect that to actually go into folks' homes, you're going to miss an entire segment of the population, because there are people that are just completely disconnected and checked out of that type of media. I'm one of them. So again, social media is absolutely critical for us getting the message out and communicating to the voters that we need to show up on December 6th.
Helen, how are you using targeted media to deliver to specific audiences?
Well, we also, as Kendra said, we have the Black Youth Vote, which is a part of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. They're doing all of the social media. In fact, we have a part of our election protection team that does nothing but combat disinformation and misinformation, and also getting them out to vote. We're doing targeted media for Black media, especially to reach those communities where they are. Social media for the young people, and I have to give credit and kudos to the young people for showing up on this last election, where we thought they weren't going to show up, but they showed up in record numbers, as well as Black males. We're working with Black Male Initiative to really focus on Black males, getting them to the polls and voting in record numbers. And they did that this last election cycle. So we're going after them again, targeting them with the messaging and having people like them. Mary Pat Hector leads our Black Youth Vote. She speaks their language. I don't. But in the Black Male Initiative, the young Black males talk the language that the guys understand. And so getting them to understand that this is critical that they be engaged in this process. And we're out there making sure we do that with all of our Black media that reaches our people as well as the social media.
Kendra, I want to go back to you were talking about content and different type of content is important. What have you developed? What are you using? And you mentioned earlier in terms of attention span as well. And so with the content that you've created or developed, is it a combination of what, 60-second, 30-second, 15-second, longer? So really, what is in your arsenal and how are you deploying that? But are you also sharing that with other organizations so therefore they are also amplifying the messages that you put together?
Yes, so you hit the nail on the head. 15, 30, 60 seconds is probably the max that you're going to get somebody's attention. Again, it can come in the form of ads. It can come into form, like I said, of a TikTok, all those types of things, anything that we can try to get trending, right? And if something is trending, we will piggyback on that trend and again, morph it into a voting message. I do want to elevate the fact that Georgia has a very sophisticated progressive ecosystem out here. And so I do want to elevate Progress Georgia. It is our communications apparatus for the C4 table when we're talking about voter mobilization efforts here in the state. And so Progress Georgia does a lot to unify the messaging so that we are all on one accord when we're speaking to Georgians. And these are primarily Black and brown Georgians. Now, again, each of our organizations also do, invest resources into a communication strategy. But again, it's the usual suspects that I've already elevated: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, anything that we can do. And I don't want to be remiss and not, emphasize that, Black radio still remains critical in getting messaging out, right? Podcasts, Spotify, that is critical in getting our messaging out. We, pushing ads on all different types of platforms. And we still do, Roland, I want to be clear, reach out to traditional Black media like newspapers, particularly in some of those more southern counties and locales that you elevated at the top of the conversation.
All right, then. Well, look, it is going to be a mad dash, absolutely, over as I said, the next 24 days. You mentioned, Helen, that's 1 week of early voting. That starts, what, the 20th? When is that?
November the 28th.
So early voting starts November 28th. It's just for that particular week. Election day is December 6th. And so a lot's going to be happening. And so we're going to be there on the ground doing some stuff. And so look forward to...
we look forward to you volunteering with us, Roland.
I ain't.
Well, he has to come to us as well. Okay. So
I know.
I ain't there volunteering because my staff don't volunteer. They want to check. Them crew members ain't volunteering when they get on that plane, just letting y'all know. So we
might be able to work something out.
All you gotta do is call me, because trust me, they want to check direct deposit to work.
But Roland, but wait, before you jump, I do want to throw out there, because I will be remiss if I don't mention this, but you do know, because of SB 202, that the voter registration deadline for this election was November 7th.
Oh, I know. Oh no, I talked about it on the show the other day. That was by design. First of all, they shrank the runoff dates, and they also put the deadline to register for the runoff the day before the general election.
Before we even knew it was a runoff.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, that's the type of voter suppression efforts that Republicans have been doing all across the country. And so, now both of y'all really messed up. Y'all got to learn how to work in your website to give. See, not one of y'all did that.
Donate to the people'sagenda.org.
No, when you trying to get money, you got to put that in early. You can't wait till the end. Helen, you first. Go ahead.
Okay, donate to thepeoplesagenda.org, thepeoplesagenda.org.
All right, Kendra.
And mine is www.ngpaf.org.
All right, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Matt, Michael, Indiana, real quick with y'all. I'll go to you first. Michael, and that is this. I go to Matt first. This is real simple. these grassroots groups are going to be vital for driving the vote out. As I keep saying, these campaigns with these white strategists, all they want to do is put all the money on television. Georgia's going to be saturated with TV ads over the next 3 weeks. People are going to tune those things out. I think money is better spent. Yeah, you got to run TV ads. I think money is absolutely better spent pouring over those numbers, seeing where you had weak or decent turnout and saying, focus on that and bump those numbers up. And that's going to be sending people on the ground into those cities, into those counties, into those neighborhoods to be able to touch people 2, 3, and 4 times to make sure they're voting early or they're showing up on December 6th.
I think you're 100% right. I think you hit the nail on the head. And I especially think you have to do that to further leverage that gap you see between the people who voted for Kemp and who did not vote for Herschel Walker. So obviously there's a lot of space to be made there. And I think you're exactly right, not only through targeted ads, but using that money to make sure that you're, targeting those people that are particularly not vulnerable, but high opportunity voters, to use Kendra's terminology, especially because we see that Georgia is firmly in play and, God willing, will go to Warnock. So I think hopefully they use that money prudently along the lines of the ways that you suggested, particularly because Kemp won, unfortunately, but obviously a lot of those people did not vote for him and didn't vote straight ticket. So I think that presents a huge opportunity, one that needs to be, prudently leveraged through good use of the money.
The thing here, I'll say this here, Michael, again, when we were talking about how you connect with people, let's be real clear. The right, they are about to unleash a ton of money and a ton of people against Warnock. They changed the laws to purposely keep folks from voting. That's the strategy. Look, Warnock got more votes than Herschel in the general election. He has to replicate that, and there can be no assuming folks are going to show up just because.
Exactly. It's going to be even harder to get people out on December 6th after Thanksgiving than it was to get people out on November 8th. Now, I think a lot of people in Georgia, I think a lot of African Americans know what's at stake, but you can't take that for granted. You have to have your machinery that is on the ground, knocking on people's doors, touching people, explaining to them what's at stake, and explaining to them not just what's at stake, but how Warnock's policies are going to make their lives better. The other thing that's important, and we saw it lacking here in, especially in Michigan, but especially in Detroit in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, you need to have those lawn signs out as well, those Warnock lawn signs, because that generates an intensity. That adds to it. That's part of it. It generates an intensity and generates an enthusiasm. And people drive down your street, things like this. They see those Warnock signs. That gives presence as well. But this is for all the marbles. I think Warnock's going to be able to pull it out. I think the Democrats will end up with 51 U.S. senators. But this is for all the marbles. This is the real deal right here. So it all comes down to Georgia, December 6th. We got to pull out all the stops. And yeah, they're going to dump a bunch of money into it. Brian Kemp is now stomping for Herschel Walker as well. You're going to have Lindsey Graham stomping for him. A lot of these Republican senators. So we have to be ready and we have to win.
And again, it matters. Go to let's see here. Do we have it up? Let's see here. I just got an update memo here as a tweet. To give you an example, that race in Nevada, new batch in Laxalt's lead has now dropped from 9,000 votes to 800. Whoa, and so, right, yeah. She is closing real fast, wow. Cortez Masto. And so, as we said, we expect by later tonight, Deanna, but later tonight, we expect that she will be in the lead. And so that'll put Democrats at 50-49. Going back to Georgia, in terms of that grassroots campaign, it's going to be a lot of dark money going in there. And again, these Christian radio stations are going to be going hard for Herschel Walker. And so people have to understand, and especially these grassroots group, really going to have to go after that 1835. They can make the difference in Georgia. And the thing that Democrats can't do in Georgia and that worked in Michigan and Pennsylvania, they can't ride the abortion issue. According to the exit polls, only 53% of folk felt that was, in terms of, that was like the major issue. It was like 60 plus in Michigan and Pennsylvania. They're going to have a very clear message to black voters, especially young black voters, to motivate them to come out for Warnock over Herschel Walker.
Absolutely. They're going to have to show that there is no stone left unturned, right? So they're going to have to put money on the ground, equip the organizers who have been doing this work. There's organizers on the ground who do this work 365 days out of the year. They need to put their money where their mouth is, making sure that these organizations are equipped at every level, not just with the volunteers that they need, but with the monetary resources that they need to sustain themselves and to go up against the Republican Party, which I'm sure will be throwing every single thing that they have. And I think something that we also need to stop doing is being very lazy in the fact that we make so many promises as a party, as a Democratic Party. There are so many promises that are made in order to secure folks' vote, but then yet we still don't have a John Lewis Voting Rights Act, yet we still don't have a George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, right? So there's a lot of young folks like myself, I'm 28 years old, I'm a millennial, who don't see a lot of trickle down in regard to the message that's being sent out from Election Day and actual deliverables, right? So that's what young folks want to see. Young folks want to know that one day we'll be able to own homes, right? There's so many things that are happening. And while we're seeing a little bit of traction, something that you absolutely have to give credit to the Republican Party for, and I can't even believe that I'm saying this, is that when they're in power, they do so unapologetically, not caring, not giving a damn about what the other party, meaning the Democratic Party, thinks about what they're doing. And we need to be equally as unapologetic when we do secure the votes that I'm sure we'll get in order to control the U.S. Senate. Because like Michael, I do believe that we will take control of the Senate. But now the problem is, what do we do once we are given that power? And we no longer have to worry, in my opinion, about what members of the Republican Party think. Instead, focus on the Democratic base, the base who has shown up, shown out consistently, but yet many times have been given nothing in return, right? And so now, like you said, this is for all of the marbles, right? People now want to see between now and 2024 that there is going to be deliverables that we get. And so in order to get that, folks are going to want to see not only the promises that are made on a regular basis, people are going to want to see that when you do get power, that you're no longer going to be worrying about what the other party feels, but instead going hard for the message. And even if, much like we saw with Joe Biden rolling out the student loan forgiveness plan, and then we see now that a court is blocking that from moving forward, at least we know that there's a real fight, right? We want the Justice Department to be able to fight against that. We want the administration to leverage every resource within its arsenal to make sure that folks do get that student loan debt forgiveness. But there's other things that we want to see as well. Something that Donald Trump did all the time was whenever he moved forward with a certain executive order decision, each and every time that a judge came down and said, actually, that's unconstitutional, he just continued to do it until they said you can't do it anymore. So why is it that we don't see this administration doing the exact same thing? Now, am I saying to go against the laws of this land? No, I'm not. But I'm saying let's have a backbone. Let's have a spine to say that we don't care what you think. We're going to do what we need to do to make sure that our base is happy.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
We are in sunny South Dallas. The election is coming up. It's super important that folks know who they are voting for, but more importantly, what they are voting for. Y'all, we got the free shirts and free lunch right over here.
Freedom is our birthright. No matter what we're up against, we're sending a message in Dallas and Texas and in the country. We won't back down. That's what this bus tour is all about.
The housing cost is one of the most capitalized areas that we have found. People who are marginalized, that are brown and black, we are suffering the most, and I think that we have the biggest vote and the biggest impact in this election.
I'm voting for affordable housing, for sure.
We should not be paying the cost of a utility failure because our elected officials are too proud to say, we need help.
I know that we can bring out our people to vote. It's a part of our birthright. Right. It's a part of our heritage, and surely it's a part of our present and part of our future.
That's right. That's what's up. And we won't black down. Forward that message to 5 friends, because in that message, it's got links to how to get registered, how to check your registration status.
Like I said, 2:30 we'll start rendezvousing right here on this street. I am voting to let our voice be heard in the rural communities that, hey, we are people too. There are things that we need.
Free shirts, free food, and lots of power.
We are in Longview, Texas, where Black Voters Matter, 365.
Whatever type of oppression a white supremacist throws our way, we will not black down. We are in relentless pursuit of liberation of our people.
Freedom is liberation for black bodies and black communities to make economic change through political power.
Freedom is choice.
We won't black down.
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 Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?